I'm Sunil V. I'm the president of SCAI for this year, and I want to welcome all of you to Miami for the Fellows Course. I remember coming to the Fellows Course when I was a fellow. It's really a fantastic opportunity to learn and connect with colleagues and develop relationships that will last your entire career. My goal in the next few minutes is to convince you to join SCAI when you're done with your training, because I think that there are several ways that SCAI can help you achieve your own professional goals. You know, there are lots of professional societies that represent cardiology, but we're really the only professional society that's dedicated solely to interventional cardiology. And I've said this for years, but SCAI is less a professional society than it is a guild. People who are in leadership positions in SCAI are active, practicing interventional cardiologists. They know what the issues are that affect our patients and our practice, issues relating to reimbursement, prior authorization. They're living it every day. And that's what makes SCAI a very, very effective organization that allows us to deal with the dynamic healthcare environment. Many of you will realize when you get into practice some of the challenges that probably you didn't learn about when you're trying to learn the technique of interventional cardiology and the cognitive skills that come with it. But there are lots of things that will affect your practice that you will realize when you're out there that will make it challenging to deliver the kind of healthcare that you want to deliver. And SCAI is really the way to help us deal with some of those challenges. As many mentioned, we deliver opportunities for networking with faculty and other fellows, and we have dedicated time for networking, not just at this meeting, but at the annual meeting in May. So I encourage all of you to come to the annual meeting in May 2023 in Phoenix. We have time for you to help to meet faculty and the SCAI leadership. Let me tell you a little bit about us. We have over 5,000 members worldwide. We're having an increasing international presence. We have several international societies that we partner with. 20% of our membership have been members for at least 20 years, and 80% or over 80% of our members would recommend SCAI to a colleague. On the right-hand side of this slide is a roadmap for how SCAI can help you throughout different stages of your career. Membership in SCAI as a fellow in training is free, and I encourage all of you to sign up to become members. We have spots on our committees and our councils for fellows in training because we recognize that you all are the future of our society. We have lots of educational resources, not just this course, but online. There's an entire toolbox that will help you learn different techniques. Obviously, the Fellows course that you're all part of today. And then when you become an interventional cardiology attending, membership in SCAI is free. And becoming an FSCAI doesn't mean that just that you're check cleared. There's actually a threshold that you have to meet in terms of board certification or volumes in order to have that designation. So we're really proud to be able to confer the FSCAI designation on people who have met those milestones. And when you become an FSCAI, first year, there's a discounted rate for you to be an FSCAI and a member of the society. Over the last year, we've launched several initiatives to try and recognize people throughout different stages of their career. This year, we have something called the 30 in their 30s program for young leading interventional cardiologists who are doing innovative work, whether it's in the academic setting or in the private setting. The call for applications for committees just went out 2 weeks ago. And for those of you who are on the SCAI email list, if you didn't receive it, please check your spam box or go to the website. We encourage fellows in training to apply for our committees. We want to hear from you and we want you to be involved. For the first time in SCAI's history, we have started to fund clinical research. We gave out 3 early career research grants to help people launch their academic careers. As research funding gets harder and harder to obtain, we wanted to make sure that academic interventional cardiology is not something that's dying, but it will be robust. And then the ELM program, or the Emerging Leader Mentorship Program that was started by Hari Naidu a few years ago, is something that's really, really valuable. We have ELM representatives as faculty in every single meeting that we have. So if you want to get involved and you want to help educate your colleagues and be on stage at our meetings, I encourage you to apply for the ELM program when you're eligible. And that's the pathway to becoming SCAI faculty. My own story, I finished my training in 2004, and in 2005, I just went to a committee meeting for the Quality Improvement Committee and just started getting involved. And eventually, I became a chair of a committee and then applied to be on the board of trustees, and gradually just became more and more involved in the society because I realized that it's a really effective way of influencing interventional practice. When you join SCAI, there are several benefits. I mean, as you go throughout your training, it's all about lifelong learning, and you can get educational opportunities to help refine your practice. We have a very, very active publications committee. We have consensus statements that I'm sure many of you have seen, but we've also decided to start writing our own guidelines because we recognize the limitations of the guidelines process that are done by other professional societies that are not necessarily focused on interventional cardiology. For those of you who are interested in this process, SCAI has decided to adopt what's called the GRADE methodology. It's a much more quantitative approach to evidence than the sort of classes of recommendations level of evidence that are used by other societies. And the Quality Improvement Committee is incredibly active. Many of you will become cath lab directors, or will become division chiefs, or become directors of structural intervention or endovascular intervention. And you will be charged with maintaining or improving quality in your cath labs. SCAI is the resource to help you get the tools to do that. We not only have an active Quality Improvement Committee, but we have at the annual meeting a cath lab leadership boot camp, which will train you to become a cath lab director and help you be successful in that particular endeavor. We've been able to accomplish a lot over the past year, and I think it's really important for me to highlight the kinds of things that SCAI has been successful in doing. What we recognized very early on is that we need to have more representation. We need to attract more people to our profession. I think there are a lot of myths about interventional cardiology that prevent people from applying to be interventional fellows. So we launched a DEI task force, which is charged with not only improving the diversity of our field in general by attracting more people to it, but also is paying attention to make sure we have adequate representation on all of our committees, as well as our writing groups. I mentioned to you the research grants that we funded for the first time in SCAI's history, but under Tim Henry's leadership last year, we also made our first foray into SCAI research by launching the North American COVID Registry, or the CACME Registry, which has had over 10 publications. In 2 years, Jim Hermiller will be the president of SCAI, and he will be dedicating part of his presidential year to physician well-being. And this isn't just about work-life balance. This is about the challenges that we all will face throughout our career with respect to orthopedic injuries, radiation, and those are the kinds of things that I think SCAI can really take a leading role in trying to reduce or prevent. I'll talk a little bit about health policy and advancing science, but one of the most exciting developments happened just a few weeks ago, which is that we were finally successful in having a match program for interventional cardiology. Many of you probably remember when you applied for interventional cardiology fellowship that there was no match, and many of you may have even faced what are called exploding offers, where you didn't even have a chance to interview at multiple places, and the first place you interviewed said you have to accept our position in 24 hours, otherwise we're withdrawing it. That's fundamentally unfair to fellows who are interested in training. And we also think that it hurts the programs by not allowing them to have a diverse pool of applicants. This was tried a few years ago. You have to get 75% of the fellowship programs that represent 75% of all the available spots to agree to be in the match. 10 years ago when this was tried, it was an abysmal failure. This year, under the leadership of Dawn Abbott and Doug Drachman, we met that milestone. So in 2025, there will be an official match for interventional cardiology, and we think it'll make the profession better and secure our future. SCAI does have a PAC, and we think that this is really, really important to have a seat at the table to advocate for issues that our profession faces. By federal law, we are not allowed to use any membership dues to fund the PAC. This is all sustained on donations. So regardless of what your political affiliation may be, rest assured that when you join SCAI, we won't be using your money to fund the PAC. But this is really important because we have had some successes. The House has passed what's called the Seniors Timely Access to Care Act. As fellows in training, you may not be dealing with prior authorization, but you will, I guarantee it, when you're in practice. Right now, prior authorization takes place behind closed doors at the insurance company using some guidelines that they internally have that are largely based on saving money. This act will require insurance companies to make that prior authorization process more transparent and adhere to professional society guidelines so we can increase access to interventional care to the patients that we needed. We've been fighting Medicare cuts with varying degrees of success. Certainly there's only one direction that physician reimbursement seems to go, but we've been a little bit more successful at staving off deep cuts, unfortunately, unlike some of our EP colleagues. And recently, the AMA House of Delegates passed the resolution on out-of-hospital cardiac arrest, making it a priority for federal funding and creating networks to improve care for patients who have this potentially fatal condition. And then finally, many of you may work in states that allow PCI to occur in ambulatory surgery centers. There are about 16 states right now that allow this. What was previously happening was that physiological assessment of lesions and intracoronary imaging was not coming with reimbursement in those particular settings, which potentially decreased the quality of the care that patients got. But we were successful in getting higher payment rates for both physiology and intracoronary imaging, so that patients who are getting PCI in ambulatory surgery centers will continue to get the highest quality care. And I really have to thank Curtis Rooney, who's a SCAI staff member for government relations, as well as Lyndon Box and Joaquin Figueroa for their leadership on the health policy front. Last year, we launched JSCAI, the official journal of SCAI. If you have research, I encourage you to submit this to JSCAI. There is a certain milestone that a journal has to meet before it can be indexed in PubMed. This journal was given 3 years to meet those milestones. We've already surpassed that milestone. And so this journal will be indexed in PubMed very soon, and the indexing will be retroactive. It's an open access journal, so there are publication charges, but SCAI members get discounts on those publication fees. And finally, I want to put a big plug in for the 2023 scientific sessions in Phoenix, May 18th to the 20th. I really encourage all of you to come. It's a fantastic meeting. It's a great opportunity to network. You can meet international leaders in interventional cardiology and talk with them one-on-one. There is a fellows summit. So many of you are doing a really, really complex cases that are interesting. Get those cases together and submit those. We'd love to review them at the annual meeting. And there will be more opportunities for hands-on learning and specialty-specific sessions. Finally, I want to say that all of you are the future of SCAI. This organization is only as strong as its membership. And we want to hear from all of you. We want you to be part of our discussions and part of our community. And we really encourage you to become FSCAI when you're done with your training. Because again, the sustainability of the society is going to be dependent on the future of interventional cardiologists, and that's what all of you are. So I want to thank you again for coming to the Fellows course, and I look forward to meeting all of you. Thank you.